Episode: Rhetoric, Media, Public Relations, Education. Dr. Kremena Georgieva. This episode is related to rhetoric and the media, rhetoric and public communication, rhetoric and public relations, rhetoric and education. It is part of the activities of Output 2, online course in rhetoric, Project Rhetoric for Innovative Education. The topics in this episode are rhetoric and the media, rhetoric and public communication, rhetoric and public relations, rhetoric and education. We will try to find intersections between rhetoric and the media, rhetoric and public communication and public relation, as well as rhetoric and programs in universities. The subtopics are: how does rhetoric help journalists to be powerful and effective communicators? How does rhetoric help experts on public relations to be speech writers and speech makers? How do the media transform traditional rhetorical practice? How do online media and social networks adapt rhetorical heritage? How does a virtual environment transform the manner of public speaking? Participators: Professor Ivanka Mavrodieva and Dr. Kremena Georgieva.
This is video podcast and it is a part of the project RHEFINE, Rhetoric for Innovative Education, Output 2 online course in rhetoric. Our guest is Dr. Kremena Georgieva. Thank you that you accept our invitation to be participant in this video podcast. Let's start with your self-presentation. You have a lot of expertise in different areas, in public relations, rhetoric, education, as a how to say expertise as orator. What do you think about traditional rhetoric and modern rhetoric? Modern rhetoric and manifestations in virtual environment.
Contemporary communication is very much based on modern rhetoric, not only on modern rhetoric, but on classical rhetoric, and the basis of rhetoric are still keeping their place as basis of public relations and media relations or whatever related to communication. So I think it's absolutely essential having in mind or even having good knowledge in rhetoric when you are coping with contemporary communication, modern communication, web or whatever.
You find intersection between rhetoric, modern rhetoric, public relations, and media. It's true. And do you say some examples how to prepare successfully our speech if you want to be powerful in academic audience, in front of young people?
As you know, preparation is in the very beginning of each and every campaign, and in each and every not even smaller communicational elements like dialogue or like monological presence or whatever. But when you're preparing yourself, you should always keep in mind something that popped in Aristotle's mind 25 centuries ago, and this is his rhetorical triangle. Because even today, yes, and all that you've said, translated to modern language and contemporary communication is brand, message, and audience. Those triangles of that triangle and their balance is absolutely essential for contemporary communication. So when you prepare yourself, your presentation, you should always think about your message and your audience and yourself in one same time.
What do you think about visual elements in modern rhetoric? Infographics, maps, tables, something else, if they are, how to say, support to verbal messages, or all elements, verbal, visual, take part in the one common final content.
They're very important part of the final content and the final presentation, but they are very a key part of it. They very much help the emitter of the message, help the audience perceive this message. It's very important because they, when we are thinking about the content and we are thinking about how to visualize this content, we are taking all essential parts of it, and this helps making our thoughts smoother and emphasizing on the most important moments. So when you're on the other side and when you're as being part of the audience, and the message is very well structured, even with visual elements, it's much easier for you to accept it.
Let's go to the education. Our project is Rhetoric for Innovative Education. When we can start to teach rhetoric in school, in universities, what do you think about perspective to implement rhetoric in the education system?
I think that the very first steps in rhetoric and in argumentation, in content writing, should start in the very beginning of school, in first grade even. Of course, firstly with visuals and very well adapted for the interest of the audience, of the pupils.
In front of camera,
yes.
How to use microphone.
Yes. But as soon as it starts, it will become very natural part of those pupils, and it will be very easier for them when they grow up and when they start to show themselves off in front of different audiences, smaller or bigger, to have those rhetorical skills in them as part of their narrative. This would be wonderful.
And let's return to your experience as a lecturer in university. What our students expect from us as a lecturer in virtual environment during the distance education, how to return to the well-known model, or we should develop ourselves if we prefer to be successful, interesting, attractive, at the same time to present information in accordance with university requirements.
According to my personal observations, I think that students require more content, but not longer or boring or monotonous content, but they want content, visuals,
definition,
case studies, examples from reality, from the world that we live in, and this is adding value for them.
Because if we follow well-known preliminary model, classical lecture, monologue, we will lose attention.
We will lose them. Yes. The best thing here is just to translate classical theories in the modern world
and just to present knowledge in different formats.
Absolutely. You're opening today's newspaper or news, whatever, and you're saying them and pointing them. This is just the same representation of the same that somebody said 25
and
centuries
the connection
ago.
Between different sources, how to select and find information from different sources, because distance education, but it's include autonomous personal learning.
Mm-hmm.
They should prepare himself, herself, themselves, not only for exam.
Yeah, they should be taught to where to search, because
this is invention in rhetoric.
Yes, it's very important to them to have their the exact and the most authentic places where
Credible
they can take
sources.
where they take examples from,
Authoritative sources, examples,
absolutely.
Definition, examples, case studies, instruction.
For example, in my classes, I'm very much analyzing with my students case studies from different awards for creativity, like Cannes Lions or Golden Drum or whatever. And when I, in the very beginning of our courses, when I point them those wonderful, they're like libraries for with case studies from all over the world. They are wow, and they are just, they want to take all of them. They
motivation
want to
teach,
to learn, to analyze, and to take from the even from the mistakes of the others.
And let's go to the final of our conversation in this video podcast. What do you say to as advice to students if they prefer to develop and improve their rhetorical skills?
To prepare, to listen, to watch, and to learn from the others.
Courses or video clips published?
Everything. Yeah. And even, as I said, showcases, because when they are applying, when brands apply to awards, they are very well connecting the dots with the most important. Why they're doing it, what are the resources, what are the aims, and what happened at the end. And it's they're very short, you know, they're 1 minute or 2 at the most, and they're like real and authentic knowledge that you can watch through, analyze it through your perspective. Yes, through your perspective, through your social perspective, because you know, all of us, we're different in our nationalities, and this is something that we should have in mind. So just be aware, watch, listen, read, whatever, open-minded.
Yes, this is the very interesting and useful final of our conversation. Classical rhetorical heritage and new presentation of this knowledge in different formats: audio, video, text, multimedia, and we should develop permanently, gradually,
Absolutely.
our rhetorical skills. Thank you, Dr. Georgieva, for your participation and very useful advice.
You have been watching and listening to the episode Rhetoric, Media, Public Relations and Education in Rhetoric. Output 2. Online course in Rhetoric. Project Rhetoric for Innovative Education.